His readings from on August 19th, 1 Samuel 11, Romans 9, Jeremiah 48, and Psalm 25. Let's start in 1 Samuel chapter 11. And so just prior to this, chapter 10, Saul was proclaimed to be king, and what happens oftentimes is there's something good happens, and the enemy comes alongside and wants to mess up, wants to destroy and take down. So chapter 11, verse 1, then Nahash the Ammonite went up and besieged Jabesh Gilead, and all the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, make a treaty with us, we will serve you. And he says, okay, on this condition I'll make a treaty with you, that I gouge out all your right eyes and bring disgrace on Israel. So the elders of Jabesh said to him, give us 7 days respite, that we might send messengers throughout all the territory of Israel. If there is no one to save us, we will give ourselves up to you. When the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul, they reported the matter in the ears of the people, and all the people wept aloud. And Saul was coming from the field behind the oxen, and Saul said, what is wrong with the people that they are weeping? So they told him the news of the men of Jabesh. And the Spirit of God rushed upon Saul when he heard these words, and his anger was greatly kindled. He took the yoke of oxen and cut them in pieces and sent them throughout the territory of Israel by the hand of the messenger, saying, whoever does not come out after Saul and Samuel, so shall it be done to his oxen. And the dread of the Lord fell upon the people, and they came as one man. When they mustered them at Bezek, the people of Israel were 300,000, and the men of Judah 30,000. And they said to the messengers, thus you shall say to the men of Jabesh Gilead, tomorrow, by the time the sun is hot, you shall have salvation. Therefore the men of Jabesh said, tomorrow we will give ourselves up to you, and you may do to us whatever seems good to you. And the next day Saul put the people in 3 companies. They came into the midst of the camp in the morning watch and struck down the Ammonites until the heat of the day. And those who survived were scattered, so that no 2 of them were left together. Verse 6, the Spirit of God rushed upon Saul when he heard these words. There's some highlights in the life of Saul the king. There's moments where he allowed God to work in his life. And the Spirit of God coming upon him, he acted decisively. A great victory for the people of God. And one of the things that we need to keep in mind today, because of this new covenant and because the Holy Spirit lives within us, the same power that raised Christ from the dead, we don't have to be afraid. We don't have to wander around aimlessly. We don't have to just get through the day. We don't have to go through the motions. We call upon the God of Israel, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We call upon the Holy Spirit to come upon us, to direct our paths, to watch over our feet so that we're going the right direction, to give us insight. See, in the Old Testament, the Spirit of God would come upon people for acts of service, for a moment and for a season. We have the Spirit of God within us. So when we hear of things, whether it's locally, whether it's your family, whether it's at work, church, in the grocery store, we hear of things in the news, in our country, around the world. What if we just stopped and prayed? What if we just had that kind of thing going on, asking God, is there something you want me to do? And we're waiting for the Spirit of God to speak. On Sundays, the last number of months, we've been going through the book of Acts and seeing the Spirit of God come upon people and giving them instructions. Stephen, Philip, Saul, who becomes Paul, and Peter, and on, to do what? Well, what is next? And I think if we're open to that, if we're looking for that, expecting God to speak to us, it's not that we're going to have this super duper blessed life, everything's going to be great, right? But the blessing of following God and staying close to Him versus wandering from Him, yeah, it will be great. It'll be adventurous, and watch and see what God will do in and through your life, through my life, as we commit ourselves once again to be surrendered and empowered by the Spirit of God for whatever comes our way and whatever is around us, and in whatever ways God desires to use us. Let's be open to that. Till next time, keep growing little by little.